I'm Matt Valley, and welcome to episode number 77 of the Rock and Roll Research Podcast, where we share the super cool backstories and side gigs of the research and insights pros that you trust. Now, if you've listened to this podcast, you know we've had people who are musicians and artists and an Elvis impersonator and even a professional wiffle ball player. So all kinds of interesting backstories and side gigs. Today we have something totally new. So with that, I'd like to welcome David Corsaro to the podcast.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, David. Good to see you.
You too. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, right on. So let me tell the audience a little bit about you. So David is a client director at MetrixLab, where he's been for almost 5 years now, I think. Prior to that, spent about 10 years at Acturus and maybe 10-ish or so years at TNS/NFO/Ross Cooper Lund, which we have determined that we actually overlapped during that tenure. Didn't know each other back then, but glad to make your acquaintance now. So
you too. Small community we live in, in the research world.
Absolutely. So how did we reconnect? Well, I happened to see David speak at a recent conference, which was held by the Insights Association, their South Central chapter annual event, which took place in Las Vegas this year, very recently. And it was a really great event. So my kudos to the team that put that together. But I have to say, David's presentation was the most magical research presentation I've ever seen. But
I hope so.
So it was really engaging and informative and, like I said, magical. So we're going to talk all about that and more on today's podcast. Welcome to the show, David.
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. I was really taken by your presentation. I'm like, oh, I got to talk to David some more. Now,
thank you.
Before we jump in, if you'll indulge me, I have to acknowledge it is my wife's and my 19-year anniversary this week. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
So, she doesn't really listen to the podcast much, but she won't hear this, but it feels like the right thing to do. So happy anniversary, Olivia. It's been a good ride. So awesome.
Well, congratulations. Excellent. Here's to 19 more.
Cheers. All right. Very good. All right, David. So it appears to me, we haven't talked about this, but it appears to me you might have started in research right out of school. I'm not sure, but let's hear the story. How'd you get into research?
I did. I always knew I wanted to get into something within the marketing advertising field. I went to college at Rowan University, it used to be called Glassboro State in South Jersey. Okay. I started there in '94, always had this deep interest in everything related to marketing, public relations, advertising. I didn't know what particular branch of it I wanted to go into. I just knew I had an interest in those things. Sure. And then between my junior and senior year of college, I actually got a marketing internship at Caesar's Palace in Atlantic City. So I got to see a little bit of sort of the behind the scenes stuff that was going on within the realm of casino marketing.
Oh, that's fun.
And so when I came out of college in whatever it was, May of '98, I had this opportunity to interview for an entry-level market research position with Ross Cooper Lund, RCL, out of Teaneck, New Jersey, and just sort of took it, figured I wanted to sort of get some experience and learn sort of the market research side of things, and never left after that. Ross Cooper Lund became NFO, NFO became TNS, left TNS, went to the PERT group. The PERT group became Acturus. Acturus became MetrixLab. So in that realm,
okay, all connected.
All connected within the last 24 years or so of the research world that I've been in.
So you've been through an acquisition or two.
A few times. Yeah, a few times. I'd like to think that I was, part of the great team that helped to take these smaller mid-level size companies and build them up a little bit. And then those companies get purchased and then I do the same thing again.
Super cool. So what kinds of work are you doing at MetrixLab? What sorts of clients are you working with? Or
I mean, MetrixLab itself has such a string of incredible clients, some of the biggest companies in the world we work with, which is fantastic. Me personally, I tend to do a lot within the CPG and the financial services space.
Okay.
So whether it's Mondelez, whether it's TD Ameritrade, well, a bunch of other different firms, I sort of work with them to handle whatever types of needs that they've got, typically within the realm of copy testing, brand equity work, segmentation, claims testing. So I've been, lucky enough to spend a lot of time in CPG and financial services over the last 24 years or so. So I really get to
Sure.
know those industries,
Mhm.
and it's been fantastic.
Awesome. Super cool. Now you have, like, in a lot of cases, we have people on that just dabble in something or have a hobby or all kinds of things, but you really do have a side gig, right? So, and I alluded to it earlier, happens to be magic. So
Yeah.
tell us about how you got interested in that and how that's kind of unfolded over the years.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. I'll put it that way. It started when I was in early high school. My father was a science teacher, and he used to love to do like little sciency magic tricks. And he had this small little suitcase filled with all these little magic tricks that he learned from a little night class he took.
Yeah.
And he, had it in our basement and, used it for a few years, and then he kind of forgot about it. And then, almost as if it was a cheesy Disney movie, I can remember finding this suitcase, opening it up, and the light shining out of it like it was the suitcase in Pulp Fiction, just.
Yeah.
And I said, what is this all about? So he taught me a couple of the little tricks that he learned. And this is before the days of the internet. So I would have to go to every library, every bookstore I could find, just to find any book on magic that I could. And then I just kept having an interest in it, starting off doing little kids' birthday parties or doing a little magic at restaurants. And it just
Yeah.
kept growing and growing and growing. And then, I went to even a little school for magic, a little summer camp program, all related to
Sure.
magic, called Tannins. And it was amazing. I got to hang out with 100 other kids who all had the same passion that I did, and that helped to fuel that a little bit more. And then it just kept growing, and it's gotten to the point now where I'm part of 4 different off-Broadway magic shows in New York City. I've gotten a tour
Oh,
of Japan doing magic. And
crazy.
one of the two larger things is there's an absolutely phenomenal, very exclusive magic nightclub in Los Angeles called the Magic Castle. And I
Uh-huh.
was lucky enough to be invited there this summer and did 31 shows over 7 days. And
Wow.
probably the biggest thing, the thing that I'm just most proud of, is there's a phenomenal TV show called Penn and Teller Fool Us.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough to be on that this past
Oh,
February. And
that's crazy.
I'm thankful to say that I fooled them. So it was great. It was
That is
insane.
awesome. I have got to see that episode. I'm assuming I can find it on YouTube or something.
You can find it on YouTube, or little plug, just go to davidcorsaro.com and it's right there on the front page.
Oh man. So when you discovered your dad's magic kit, was that back in high school or?
It was like really early in high school. I was kind of a shy kid. I wasn't exceptional at sports. I loved sports, but I wasn't sort of first string anywhere. So I didn't have that sort of hobby. I didn't have something to sort of channel myself into. And
Yeah.
then when I found that, it just became something that I could sort of learn about, something that instilled confidence in me. So
Sure.
all of the sudden, I stepped forward a little bit. I started to be able to meet girls. I started to be able to do presentations in class and really
Yeah.
succeed in them, all because of the skills that I learned as a magician. So
Interesting.
it's so fascinating that over the last 20 some odd years, I've I've always said this, that so much of my success in the market research field has come from what I've learned in magic, and so
Wow.
much of my success in magic has come from the business skills I've learned in market research.
Oh, interesting. So talk a little bit more about that.
Absolutely. For me personally, I've in the realm of magic, I've learned how to present. I've learned how to stand up in front of a large group of people and command the room, how to make
Sure.
it so that they have an interest of in what I'm saying, and instilling confidence in them that what I'm saying is something they can trust.
Sure.
I see it a lot in different research present conferences that I go to. People get up there and they present what's on the page. And sometimes they walk away and they're kind of forgettable. And I think that's really sad because a lot of times the content is really valuable. So
Sure.
when it comes to magic, I've learned how to stand on that stage and engage my audience in a way so that they have confidence in what I'm saying.
Okay.
Conversely, I've over 20 some odd years, I've been brought challenges by different companies in the realm of marketing and asked how to solve it. How do we acquire new customers? How do we keep loyalty in our existing customers? How do we create advertising content that's going to engage people and have them interested in what our message is? And what I've been able to do is take all of the learnings that I've had over the last 20 some odd years in that and apply it to my magic business. And it's even
Right.
gotten to the
Right.
point, where I've actually helped out a lot of other magicians on their marketing by sort of consulting with them a little bit and talking about, what I've learned in the research field.
Oh, that's really cool. So is this for you is working the day job, doing market research, working for MetrixLab, whatever, doing that during the day and doing magic at night. Is that the ideal for you? Is to sort of keep this going in perpetuity like that, or what does it look like?
That's a great question. I don't know. I mean, it's funny because I love doing magic. I really do. There's something about just engaging with an audience, especially one-on-one, and just giving somebody that moment of astonishment, which people don't often see nowadays.
Right.
You see people get hooked on it.
Yeah.
So somebody will watch me do magic and their mouths drop and their eyes open up and you'll hear them say, do another one. Oh my God, that was
Yeah.
amazing. I got to show my friends. And that's because they're sort of hooked on that moment. At the same time, I really love marketing. I really love trying to get
Yeah.
inside the minds of consumers and understand what's prompting them to make the decisions that they're making. And
Right.
that gives me joy too. So as long as I can keep both of these going, I mean, I don't have to be on stage with Penn and Teller to get a rush from magic.
Right.
Um, it could be a Saturday afternoon at a friend's house and just doing a couple tricks in their backyard, and I get the
Yeah.
same rush. So if I can keep both of these going for as long as possible, I'll be a happy Dave.
Cool. Hey, I have one question just out of curiosity about the craft of magic, right?
Mhm.
Because I play the drums, and so I know what that looks like in terms of maintaining where you're at and sort of reaching, new plateaus, I guess. How do you approach that? So do you have to continually practice the tricks that you know? And how do you approach new tricks? Do you read about them and duplicate them, or do you come up with ideas on your own, or what does that look like?
So that's a phenomenal question. And there's actually a couple different answers to it. So one is the practice side of things. And yes, I am practicing all the time. When
Okay.
I'm sitting down in the living room and I'm watching a football game with my son, odds are I have a deck of cards in my hand and I'm just practicing the dexterity that I need,
Right.
as a magician.
Yeah.
When it comes to new magic, I'm really lucky that I've got a couple really great friends who are magicians. And what we try and do is get together once a month or so at my house. My wife will make pizza for everybody. She's amazing. And we all just literally gather around the living room table and practice and
Yeah.
brainstorm ideas with each other. And it actually leads a little bit into how, you and I met when we were at this Insight Association conference, because what I've done is I've taken the creativity and the problem solving skills that my friends and I have developed as magicians, and
Mhm.
I've been able to apply that to market research as well.
Right.
So I've always said, if you want to sort of think outside the box a little bit, if you want to sort of expand your creativity, there are skills as a magician where really, if you think about it, what I'm trying to do as a magician is create the impossible.
Right.
So I've developed sort of techniques and problem solving skills there that I try to apply as much as possible to the questions and issues that my clients bring to me in market research.
Cool. Cool. All right. Well, I would be remiss if I didn't ask if you have a trick up your sleeve, so to speak. Anything that you could perhaps share with us?
Absolutely, absolutely. For the people who are listening only on audio, you're going to have to seek out the video of this to be able to see this. Although something really simple here, Matt, nothing too crazy. You know what this is, right?
Rubik's Cube.
It's a
Yes.
Rubik's Cube, right? It's a Rubik's Cube. And Rubik's Cube can be mixed up so many different ways. I believe there's actually 64 quintillion different ways, if I heard correctly, about how you could potentially mix up a Rubik's Cube.
Okay.
So I am going to try to solve this Rubik's Cube in front of your eyes and everybody who's watching on video. I'm going to try to solve this in only 3 seconds. Only 3 seconds. I'm going to back up a little bit here so that the camera can get a nice view of this. Now, at this point, everybody always assumes, oh, good, this is great. I'm going to see how he solves it. That's not the way magic works. I can't let you see it. So, Matt, what I'm going to do is I brought a little paper bag here.
Okay.
I'm going to take the Rubik's Cube. I'm going to place it inside of the bag like that, snap my fingers, and it's solved, Matt. It's solved. Okay, you don't look impressed. You don't look impressed. I get it. I get it. Because you see the solved Rubik's Cube, you just assume somehow I've switched it with another Rubik's Cube inside the bag, which
that
is
would be
not
the
true.
assumption. Yes.
Not true, Matt. Look, see, look, nothing in the bag. No, okay, Matt still doesn't look impressed. You think I'm holding it.
Yes, I do.
I get that. And you're right. You're right. I can't fool you. There is another Rubik's Cube inside the bag.
Cool.
Any questions?
Yeah, tell me how you did it.
It's all magic. It's all magic.
Cool. Well, I know you had the audience enthralled with some tricks in Las Vegas that were just mind-boggling. I just, thought about it for hours afterwards. Like, how did he do it? No clue.
Good. I'm glad the content of the talk was engaging and you enjoyed it.
Awesome. One last question about magic, because I tend to be sort of a self-deprecating guy. Like I always remember like the worst gigs I've ever played kind of thing. Have you ever had anything during a performance go just horribly wrong?
Yes. Yes. I will tell you this, that when magicians get together, specifically, when me and my friends get together, one of the things that we talk about a lot is, what do you do if a trick goes wrong? That's something that we really spend a lot of time thinking about.
Okay.
And we will create, let's call it, different pathways. So depending on when the trick goes wrong, there are what we call outs. There's ways of sort of steering around the problem so that you can bring it to a logical conclusion without the audience really noticing that something went wrong.
Okay.
Which ironically is something I bring a lot to the market research field, because as we all know, there's delays, there's issues with the data, there could be a million factors that could go wrong. And it's really important when you're designing research and when you're planning a report to think, what could go wrong, what could change, and how can I be prepared for that?
Right. Yeah, that anticipation. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So it is a podcast about research. Yes. So let's talk a little bit more about research. I'm sort of curious, you spent your entire career in this space. You've been through a number of acquisitions like you mentioned, but you've got some well-worn experience in research, and I'm sure you've got a perspective on sort of where things are heading. So as you think crystal ball, what does the future look like of market research to you?
I'm both encouraged and nervous about the future of research, because I see research moving to the two extremes. I see it moving to either a very do-it-yourself platform where numbers are just regurgitated back and forth with no real insights, just a number to have a number. Or I see it going towards the other way, where people are very consultative, where research partners and clients have a strong relationship, and it's really done to push marketing efforts forward. I don't see a ton in the middle. And that makes me a little bit nervous that we're only going to be going towards those two extremes of the future, where it's either a quick turn, I just need a number, I don't really care about this research, it's just something I need to do to fill in a spreadsheet somewhere, or no, we're all in 100%. How can we sort of improve our advertising, gather more consumers, things like that?
Yep.
So I think when I'm sort of thinking about my future in research and the future of my company, I'm trying to think about how do I make the consultative part as simple and as turnkey as possible? And then how do I make the do-it-yourself platform as insight-driven as I could?
Right.
Because if we're going to go towards the one of those, then those who are going to be most successful are going to be those who can live in those spaces and try to give those clients as much of a 360-degree view as they can.
Right. Right. Cool. Yeah, I like that. I like that. All right. So curious to know, I know obviously you don't have a lot of free time. You've got two jobs, right? In a way.
I
Three.
have three. I have three because I have two beautiful children and an amazing wife.
Yes.
And I take my family, my role as a husband and a father very, very seriously. So spend as much time as possible with my amazing wife, Lauren, and my kids, Matthew and Daniel.
Oh, that's wonderful. Nice name, by the way, Matthew. It's I've always had a fondness for that one.
I had a feeling you'd appreciate that one.
All right. So in those snippets of time that you're consuming media, either for insight or inspiration or enjoyment, what is it that you're turning to?
So well, you just said a couple of different things there, right? So when it comes to enjoyment, I am somebody who tries to sort of, I'm a sports guy. I'm a diehard Mets fan and a Brooklyn Nets fan.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, trust me. Listen, we've suffered enough. We've suffered enough.
Yeah.
We've suffered. We don't deserve. And so I just enjoy sports as well as much as I can. My one son Daniel is crazy into sports, so I get to spend time with him doing that. My other son Matthew loves Marvel and Star Wars movies, so I'm a movie guy. I'd love to sit down with him and do that. And my wife and I, because we're lucky enough to live so close to New York City, we try to take in Broadway shows or comedy clubs as often as we can. That's sort of the enjoyment side of things.
Okay.
On the sort of knowledge side of things and sort of expanding that, I'm a very big podcast person. So I love listening to podcasts. There's ones called Plain English. There's the Freakonomics podcast, Malcolm Gladwell's, all of those sort of, when I'm in the car heading to a work meeting or driving to a magic show or whatever the case may be, usually that's what I'm focused on. Or on the music side of things, there's great music podcasts. One's called Hidden Tracks. The other, there's yours. There's a bunch of other great ones out there that expose me to new music that I'm not aware of. And I love sort of expanding that breadth of knowledge as well.
Cool. All right. So you said the magic word, if you will, which in this case is music. This is the Rock and Roll Research Podcast. So we have to get to it. We have to cover this territory. So we haven't discussed this, although I think I have an inkling of where this might head, but curious to know, David, let's say you're stranded on a desert island. Of course, you got a deck of cards or whatever, doing magic. But in addition to that, you have 3 records at your disposal to keep you company for the rest of your days. What are they, David?
So I was very nervous about this question because I take lists very seriously.
Yeah.
So before I can answer, I do have one question to throw back at you, which is, can they be either a greatest hits album or a movie soundtrack album? Or does it have to be one artist?
This is the 77th time I've asked this question. And I tell you, like 80 to 90% of the guests have some sort of qualification. They either want to skirt the rules or they really have to explain why they chose what they did, what the rubric was that they've used. So greatest hits, totally okay, no problem. It's a good way to get a cheat in there. But like mixtapes aren't going to work for me. So
no, okay,
if that helps.
Okay, so I can't say the singles soundtrack.
You could say the single soundtrack. Yeah, that was an album release. That's good.
Okay. So then the 3 that I'm going to pick. So number 1, we've got the soundtrack to the movie Singles, which for a kid growing up in the 90s, that was just the definition of what grunge needed to be.
Yeah.
You have Smashing Pumpkins, you have Soundgarden, you have Pearl Jam, you have Paul Westerberg.
Yes. Replacements are probably my all-time favorite band. So I love the choice. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And he has 2 phenomenal songs on that album.
Yes, he does.
Phenomenal songs on that Album number 2, Peter Gabriel's So.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, I mean, just in terms of, I think it's one of the best mixed albums ever, like literally the recordings, the sounds that Peter Gabriel was able to put together, the lyrics. I mean, if you want to just hear every different sound imaginable and how it's layered on top of each other in a way that just flows beautifully from one second to the next and one track to the next, Peter Gabriel So.
Love it. Cool.
And then my last one is Beastie Boys, Ill Communications.
Yes, yes.
Excellent
record.
As a diehard Beastie Boys fan, if you haven't seen the Beastie Boys documentary that they did recently, directed by Spike Jonze, I highly recommend checking that out. That's another record where the layers are just so deep and there's such a breadth of the type of music they play, punk, hip hop, jazzish type music. Believe it or not, that's something I listen to a lot if I need inspiration in marketing, because they did such an amazing job on that album of covering off on all of their interests, covering, they're not locked into any boxes in that. There's no, well, our sound is this, or we only say lyrics like that. They did a great job of sort of blowing out the box and really thinking in really unique ways, which is what I'm always trying to bring to research. So that's my number one album when it comes to, I need inspiration. I need to get pumped up for something. Trust me, if I'm driving to a presentation somewhere, odds are I was listening to Sabotage 20 minutes ago.
Awesome. That reminds me, I need to update, because I have some quantitative data here, right? So I've asked this question 77 times. So I have over 200 responses.
Okay.
And after about 30 or 35, I did go in and compiled the data.
Okay.
But I've got a lot since. It's a little bit of work, but I got to do it because I think that Paul's Boutique is one of the top responses. Beatles are definitely up there. Beyonce's up there, but I need to pull that out and quantify what we got.
Interestingly, I think Paul's Boutique is their best album, but it's not the one I would bring to the desert island.
Okay. Point taken.
If I can make a suggestion.
Sure.
Ready? Rock and Roll Podcast Spotify playlist of all the albums people have used.
Oh, I love that.
I would subscribe in a heartbeat. That would be amazing.
Oh, that is such a good idea. All right.
Spotify playlist.
That is a phenomenal idea. You've given me something cool to work on. I love it. I want to hear that playlist.
That's what I'm saying.
All right. I love it. Excellent. It's that magic, those good ideas, that creativity that's coming to light. Excellent. All right, David, it's been a great chat. Really enjoyed reconnecting with you. Looking forward to seeing what you've got next, both in terms of magic and insights. I know you've got some presentations coming up, so looking forward to that. Thanks so much, David.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.